Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, which is doodled monsters. Now if you have got some kids in your life, this is such an awesome thing to do with them. It's certainly something I'm going to be doing with my class at school. I had so much fun doing this because it was just a great way when you didn't know what to do. You just paint shapes and then make them into weird and wonderful monsters. So there's no rhyme or reason to this. It's really simple, as the description box said, but I hope you enjoy watching it and you might get some inspiration. The reason I did this page was I saw, I think on a Reddit thread, a young girl, she must have been like 7 or 8, she might have been a little bit older, painting a ginormous canvas using the very same technique, and it was just so beautiful. And I thought, oh, I really love that. I have to have a go at doing that in my journal. So inspiration comes in all shapes and forms. I would highly suggest you to go and seek it out in any way you fancy, and if there's something that you really love, have a go at doing it. You know, there's no right or wrong. It's in your art journal. You know, obviously credit where credit is due, but you know, if it's a technique you think, I'd really like to try that, or you know, I really like that color combination, have a go at it. You know, that's when you're going to learn that you really like it, or oh, actually I'm not great with that, those colors don't really suit me in the end, I'm going to try something else. So as I'm going along, I'm using acrylic paints, and I'm just sort of filling in the spaces as I go along. If I've got some extra paint, like I did with the yellow, I just put out a little bit too much, I am painting different shapes onto my other monsters underneath. So at the moment they're just sort of blobs. I know I might need eyes or noses, so if I've got extra paint, that's what I'm going to be putting on. Now, because I'm sort of going one shape at a time, it's mostly dry as I go up to the next area, but if it's not, just use a heat gun or leave it to dry for a little bit before you keep painting on. I'm just applying paint to my journal, straight into my journal, but again, you could obviously have a palette and do that. For a change, I am actually using thinner paint brushes just to have a little bit more control as I'm going along, but you know, again, use whatever you've got. And yeah, if you've got extra paint, paint it somewhere else. Nothing goes to waste. So as we're going up the page, we are going to fill this entire page with shapes and blobs. This one's doing monsters, but obviously use your imagination. You could do a whole series of these type things. It could be like different houses, apartment rows, you know. It could be doors. So you could have a very geometric one with just rectangles with all different paints and decorations on them and so on. So there's nothing to stop you doing this. This is just that sort of really simple idea of a theme being repeated over the page. So it's not necessarily a pattern in you know, like it's not tessellating together, but I am making sure that I'm sort of filling up all the spaces as I go along. I'm also making sure to kind of spread out my colors a little bit. So obviously, you know, just gone to disprove my fact there. I was going to sort of say, you know, do a warm color, then do a cool color so it sets out. But, you know, I'm not putting the same shade. So I've got a light color, I'll put a dark color next to it, or I'll put a contrasting color next to it, I suppose. So they look very separate, and you get this sort of really great crowd effect happening at the end. One of the things I really like about how this turned out is the detailing that happened at the end. And I've talked about this in previous videos, but you know, things often don't look finished until you've added some black and white onto the page, and that's really clear in this video. It's while the shapes are kind of cool, it doesn't really look like anything at the moment, and it's not until you put in the detail and the shaping to it that it suddenly sort of starts to come together. So this is just all about using your imagination, and not that I'm sure anyone here would struggle with that, but sometimes it is a little bit difficult. If you do have youngish people in your family, if it's younger kids, or particularly if it's toddlers, or, you know, school-age kids, get them to have a go at doing this and then copy some of their monsters or some of their shapes. And you'll have lots of fun. Or get, you know, the kid in your life to draw the shapes out for you, and then you do the detailing in afterwards. My daughter did her own page of monsters. She's 4, and she had a ball doing it. So she had so much fun making all the different shapes. So you can see here I'm just going in with a black paint pen. This is quite a thick paint pen, so I've got a really clear division amongst all my monsters. It's a trick I've found, again, I suppose, with teaching in my class at school, that if we ever do collaborative canvases or something together, I get a thick paint pen to go around the edges of their paintings, because it just neatens it up. It means any brush strokes that are a little bit wonky or gone a little bit, you know, out of the way, or something's sort of muddled up in the middle, you can instantly clean it up, and you've got this really clean finished piece really, really easily, just using a thicker pen to sort of edge things. So once I've put on my black, I'm now going in and putting on my eyes. And again, there are no rhyme, rule, reason to any of these. Some have one big one, some have a big one and a little one, some have sideways looking eyes. And then I'm going around with a thinner paint pen and adding in some detail. So for my details with this, I have got a book which is all about Z-tangling, and it's got lots of different patterns in it. You can get Z-tangle patterns on the internet if you look them up, but basically just any pattern you want. Is just making it look interesting. And this, again, you know, is where, you know, put something interesting on TV or have something playing in the background, so you're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're just making marks on the page. So if there's one that I particularly like, you know, I'll continue it around. I really like putting like the little stitch marks around the eyes and the stitch marks for the mouth. Just even simple vertical lines, lots of dots and dashes. So you can make it as complicated as you want. Putting in some teeth into some of the mouths. When you're putting in the eyes, I suppose the only thing that I do recommend that you do is make sure if you put the black pupil in, that you put a little bit of white for the catch-all, because that makes the eyes kind of look alive. This sort of painting is very, very 2D. It's very, very flat, which I really love. It gives a really cool impression, but having those catch-all kind of makes you think, oh, are they alive or is it really flat? So it just breaks it up a little bit. The other thing is, like, I'm just doing my detailing with black and white pens. Obviously you could add in lots and lots and lots of different other coloured pens to make this even more interesting. So, you know, break out your metallic pens or your gel pens. Gel pens would be really good over this too, with lots of different colours, depending on what you want to do with your shapes. So as I'm going along, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I wasn't getting frustrated because I was really enjoying the process, but I was getting to a stage of, oh, what do I do next? What do I add on to the next one? Which it was not causing stress at all, but it was just like, oh, I don't know what to do next. So just repeat some of your patterns or some of the things. So on the eyes, I've done double circles around some of them. You can see that stitch mark coming back again. You know, there's no harm in repeating things, so don't feel like you have to have every single one looking different. It's not necessary. You can see me starting to break out some different coloured paint pens because I was starting to get a little bit bored with just the normal, the black and the white. And once I broke out the different pens, that gave a new lease of life again, because I could do some of those same patterns I'd already done, like those dots over the turquoise, but it looks different because I've got the turquoise underneath them. You know, I've got someone down the bottom having the pox. This one's got the pink over the top. Usually if you're doing this, good idea to leave it to dry. I just got my heat gun out just to make sure it was really dry before I put the second layer of black on. Over everything I have, unless it's polka dots like this, I have outlined them with the black and white just to make sure it really stands out. I find that that really helps to make it look a little bit finished by having those extra bits and pieces added in. And obviously, the further you go up in your design, you know, the less detail you have to put in really, because, you know, you can think of the most detailed being at the foreground and least detailed at the back. It's totally up to you how much detail you want to put in. You might just want to leave it with the eyes and not put anything else in. So, you know, there's no right or wrong way to do this. One of my favourite things to do is put in stripes when I'm feeling uninspired. And it's such an easy thing to do, especially if you do it in a contrasting colour, because it makes it really stand out. I do apologise for my head getting everything out of focus as I move in, but I just cannot draw without having my head quite, you know, just there. So these things happen when you get old. You have to move closer to where you're working. So with the white pen, I'm just putting in a little highlight on some of the monsters just to make it look like it's got a shiny surface on it. So you can do little cheat tricks like that to make it really pop out as well. So these are the final little touches to my page, putting in the final strokes to make it finished. And here is a close-up of the end. So you can see they've got a beautiful flat colour. You've got the detail of the pen work over the top. And as you can see in here, the pen work is really, really simple. There's nothing complicated on here. It's just the time is taken actually thinking of what patterns you want to do. But if you've got a Z-Tangle pattern book next to you, that really, really helps. So I hope you have a go at doing some simple doodled monsters, and if you've got kids around, have them have a go at it as well, because I'm sure they will have lots of fun. Until next time, bye for now.